Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Captain's Academy. Today we're going to be taking a look at your newly acquired Phoenix Star Works Star Kestrel. The Star Kestrel is a micro-start CV designed to trade off things like farm space and large shield placement for ease of access, affordability, to get the player moving out of system or potentially linked up with other faction mates. While it does not feature some of the larger devices featured in many of the starter CVs, it does have a suite of accessible devices and some additional placement, as well as upgrade points for thrusters, weapons, and various other things. So let's take a look at that. As we take a look at our cramped area, we feature a O2 station, food processor, bunk bed for single player. We have a passenger seat for co-op play, armor locker, fridge, biomedical chamber, and here we have a sneaky placement for a shower. We do spawn in with a large constructor, which obviously can be upgraded to an advanced. One thing to note is that if we want to do a placement of, say for example, repair station, we do have access to that. We'll just have to move some devices around. So what we could do is, if we're not single player and we don't need it, we'll get rid of the bunk, or if we're solo, we can get rid of that seat. Now at this point, we do have a couple options. We could supplement with some additional medical devices, or continue on just placing our repair station if that's something we want to do. So we could just potentially move these devices out of the way here, and then that will leave us with a placement for a repair station if we want to lay that down. Okay, that would take care of that. So moving forward again, this we could just upgrade this large to an advanced if we want to. Now we will be spawning in with a standard small generator, so if we want to upgrade that to a large, quite simply all we'll do is just remove that block here, and there we go. There's our placement. Moving forward after that, if we feel that we need additional generator placement, feel free to drop it there. Now, this will leave us with a situation where we still have a couple of options for placement of devices. So once you've acquired all this data here, which you probably won't need since you're watching the tutorial video, we just clear this out. And now for Reforged Eden players, we have access to place our compact shield generator. So by placing against the wall there. So we'll need to power that with a Pentaxid Tank. The PT here, that's going to be your Pentaxid Tank placement. Okay, so at this point you have a couple options here. So if you want to increase the durability, what you can opt to do is block off the Pentaxid Tank, so that would help mitigate chain reactions a little bit. Or if you're comfortable with handling your vehicle, then what you can do is just opt to utilize that space for additional shield placement. So for Reforged Eden players, what we would do in this situation is we have our capacitors and rechargers, and we would just take, well, I guess it just depends on how you want to roll, but let's say we go for one charger there. Now we could go ahead and drop in two capacitors, and for a compact shield generator, that's going to put us at 9950 shield, which isn't too bad. So now that we've placed all of those devices, we're ready to slot in our warp drive. There it is. Okay, that should pretty much cover the inside. Yeah, so there's a couple options here. Maybe you don't want the repair station. Maybe you want to go for some additional medical devices, or perhaps something else. It's entirely up to you. So it comes in with two minigun turrets, as well as two sentry turrets on the back to beef up drone defense, as well as critters and stuff that might want to try and be aggressive. or Xerax's dirty Xerax scum. We do have an option to place an additional forward sentry turret. So what we could do here is right below the pilot seats, we would just remove this. And there you go. So that should give you some forward coverage as you're deploying. Okay, so moving on to thrusters, we have a couple options here. For reforging players, what we can do is you probably want to... So one of the expenditures I think you should do right out of the gate is you're going to want to upgrade your forward thrust, because at present you're not going to be able to get to full speed under full load capacity. So just go ahead and pop out that medium thruster and get rid of this thin block here. And then this will upgrade you to large thruster placement, at which point that should take care of you. So we do have options for doubling up on the largest for reverse, so we just remove that block. Here for vanilla players, you could just slot in a medium if you want to, but if you want to continue on as a reforged Eden player, then there's our placement for larges. Now, for lift thrust, we have options for mediums. So we'll just go ahead and rotate this over. Now here we want to remove the small thruster as well as the thin blocks forward of the jet exhaust. And you'll do the same thing here for this forward section. So just remove that small thruster, thin block placement. And there you go. Now for dorsal thrust, it's the same situation. You have options for, actually you have options for duplicating your small thruster placement. Otherwise, if you're taking out of that any further, you're just going to run into some devices. So that should double you up right there. Yep, easy peasy. Okay, so moving on to weapon placement, we have a very modest weapon placement, but it's there. If you want to do, like, perhaps some drilling. You know, again, I didn't want to... So I kind of got in a situation where I felt like I was trying to expand the ship, but if I did that, then I'd end up building a full-scale starter CV, and that's not what we wanted to do. Otherwise, we're losing the plot. So, you know, you'll want to transition out of this build. Again, it's just more or less just like a starter CV to get you off system or linked up with some friends. I guess you could get a little bit of play as like a disposable CV or maybe some sort of stopgap miner. So that would be your weapon placements there. Right, so there isn't an available placement for any other additional turrets, but what we could do is if we wanted to, you know, maybe we're fine with the one minigun, and, you know, if we need something like a radar placement, then we could just, you know, poach one of the turret placements here. Maybe just do something like that. Here you could put your weapon of choice for drone defense. You know, flak or missiles or lasers or something. Positrons. Entirely up to you. Okay, so on top of the vehicle we have position for mounting some SVs or HVs, and obviously the SV should be pretty simple to figure out. Now for HVs, so you know, something a little simple here. Just you'd park the vehicle, and what you want to do at this point is, let's say, you get something like this, or maybe you have a bush ranger. Yeah, you'll just approach from the front of the vehicle and mount up from there. The sloping of the nose should be short enough to accommodate that. See? Real simple. Probably push up the sides as well. Maybe not. Yeah, so that should cover it for that. Now, so one of the things is that being that the build is compact, a smaller CV, it will benefit exponentially from RCS gains. So maybe you're not satisfied with this sort of performance here. 75 roll, 23 pitch, 37 yaw. And you want something a little more robust, a little more agile. You could just take out one of the devices, put in an RCS, and 124, 109, 98. So now it's a little more agile. Yeah, see, moves real nice. This is fully loaded too. Um, yeah, that's it. Should pretty much cover it. Good little starter disposable CV. Unfortunately, being that it's compact, it has its pros and cons. One of the cons being that, yeah, I really had to fight myself wanting to expand this thing, not only for slotting in some additional devices and such, but just giving it, I wanted to give it a little bit more space so I can do some interior design with block work and stuff like that, because, for me, it's kind of sparse, but it's got character, and it fulfills a particular role. And that's it, folks. The Phoenix Starworks Star Kestrel, coming to a workshop near you. Thank you. Hello, folks. If you enjoy my content, if you enjoy my builds, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you get access to custom builds of release works, early access to some builds before they hit the workshop, exclusive builds. You also gain access to direct feedback and engagement through polls, idea suggestions regarding builds before and after workshop release. If this interests you, please check out the pinned comment below. Thank you.